It was the look of someone who wasn't used to asking anyone for help. Help! I think my ankle is sprained, she muttered, trying to stand and failing as her leg buckled under her weight. You don't need to move, Ryan said gently, stepping closer down the slope. Let me help you, he offered, extending his rough, calloused hand with the kind of honest sincerity people rarely see anymore. The woman hesitated, freezing for a moment. She scanned his face intensely, as if searching for hidden intentions or a trap in a world where everyone had an angle. Trust was currency to her, rare, expensive, and often betrayed, but his eyes were calm, steady, and completely uncalculating. She finally placed her manicured hand in his, and he helped her up, supporting her weight carefully. I'm Marina Salas, she said softly, her voice trembling slightly. Ryan introduced himself with a nod and guided her slowly toward his truck. Come on. My farmhouse is close. We'll get you cleaned up. Marina tried to protest, glancing at her bike, but her ankle throbbed too much to argue. Her gaze flicked over his run-down, rusted vehicle, then back at the dusty road stretching endlessly with no passing cars. Reluctantly, she nodded to him. Inside the farmhouse, sunlight filtered through old, faded curtains, casting warm, golden stripes across the wooden floorboards. Nora gasped when she saw the injured stranger entering their sanctuary. Papa, is she okay? She whispered, eyes wide with fear. She will be, Ryan assured her calmly. Nora, meet Marina. Nora smiled then. Nora's eyes sparkled with a mix of curiosity and concern. She was a quiet, thoughtful child with a heart too big for her small age. She immediately ran to fetch the first aid kit without being asked, watching closely as Marina winced while Ryan gently cleaned her wounds. Marina looked around the small, humble house. It was clean, modest, and full of warmth. On the shelves were Nora's drawings: bright suns, green trees, a crooked house, and a stick figure man always holding a tiny stick figure girl's hand. There was no drawing of a mother anywhere. Something in that stark absence tugged at Marina's heart. Though she didn't show it, Marina was shaken, not from the fall, but from being inside a place where love was visible in everything, even in the cracked walls and furniture. She hadn't felt that sincerity in years. Because Marina Salas wasn't just any biker. She was Marina Salas, the billionaire heir to Salas Dynamics, a global tech empire. But she was disguised and hidden from a world that tried to use her name more than her soul. For months, she had been traveling under the radar, searching for something real. Friendship, love, or just a reason to believe people could care without gaining from her wealth. Her privilege had always been a cage disguised as luxury. But Ryan didn't know any of that. He only saw a traveler in need. For the next 2 days, because she could barely walk, Marina stayed at the farmhouse. She offered to book a hotel or call for help, but Ryan insisted she rest until she healed enough to travel safely on her own bike. During those days, something began to shift quietly in the air. Marina watched Ryan wake before dawn to work the fields, lifting heavy crates with quiet endurance. She watched him pack Nora's lunch, braid her hair gently, and kiss her forehead before waving goodbye as the school bus rolled up the dusty road. It was a domestic ballet she had never witnessed so closely. In her world, nannies did the braiding and chefs packed the lunches. Here, love was in action, a verb executed with rough hands and a soft heart. She found herself waking up earlier just to watch this routine, leaning against the doorframe, sipping the weak coffee he made, feeling a strange ache in her chest that had nothing to do with her ankle. It was the ache of missing something she had never really known. And at night, she sat at the small dinner table, eating simple meals Ryan made from whatever they had in the pantry: roasted roots, fresh bread, simple stews. Every moment felt painfully beautiful in its raw simplicity. The more she observed him, the more she saw a man stretched thin yet never bitter. A man who had endured heartbreak, yet taught his daughter kindness. Instead of resentment, he didn't complain about his struggles. He lived them with quiet strength. The way he laughed with Nora, the way he listened to her stories about school, it was all so present. Marina was used to people who were always looking at their phones, always planning the next deal. Ryan was just there, completely and utterly present in the moment, anchoring them all with his steady, calm soul. Ryan found himself drawn to Marina, too. She was not just a stranded stranger anymore. She had a sharp mind, an aura of independence, and a deep, hidden sadness she tried to bury with sarcasm and wit. Sometimes she stared out the kitchen window for long, silent minutes, watching the dust motes dance in the light, as if trapped between who she was and who she wished she could be. He wondered what she was running from, or perhaps, what she was running towards. He caught her looking at the family photos with a longing that broke his heart, but he never pressed her for answers. He gave her the space she clearly needed, offering silent companionship instead of prying questions. It was a comfort Marina hadn't realized she was starving for until she finally tasted it here. Yet, she laughed genuinely at Nora's silly jokes, a sound that rang clear and true in the small house. She helped chop vegetables despite her injured ankle, sitting at the counter with a knife in hand, insisting on being useful. "I'm not an invalid," she had joked, though her hands were more used to signing contracts than peeling potatoes. She even offered to pay for the groceries she was eating, pulling out a sleek black credit card that looked out of place on the scarred wood of the table. Ryan almost laughed at the idea, shaking his head with a gentle smile that crinkled the corners of his eyes. "You're a guest," he said firmly, pushing the card back towards her without a second glance. "You don't owe us anything," he added, his voice leaving no room for argument. In one bright, peaceful morning, the air was filled with the scent of blooming wildflowers and the sound of distant birds. As Nora laughed and chased white butterflies in the open field, her yellow dress fluttering like a flag of pure joy, Marina stood on the porch. She looked at Ryan, who was wiping his hands on a rag, watching his daughter with pride. Tears pricked Marina's eyes, blurring the golden scene before her. She realized then that her wealth could buy houses, but it couldn't buy a home. It couldn't buy this feeling of safety, of being seen for who she was, not what she had. She turned to him, her voice trembling with the weight of her realization. "Maybe the road didn't break me that day," she whispered, the words catching in her throat as she spoke truth. "Maybe," she continued softly, "it brought me home." If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Chronicles. Your support keeps these emotional stories alive and helps spread positivity to others. Special request: before you leave, write one word in the comments that describes how this story made you feel today. The sun continued to shine on the farmhouse, on the man who gave without asking, on the woman who found wealth in simplicity, and on the little girl who bridged their worlds. It was a testament to the power of connection, a reminder that sometimes the worst wrong turns lead us to the right places. And in that kitchen, amidst the scent of coffee and love, 3 hearts found a rhythm that would echo for a lifetime.